Hello and welcome to week 4 of the Country Garden Crochet Along, and this week we're going to finish our middle panel of our lawn and we're going to be doing the wave stitch for that. So how do we make it? Okay, so last week we finished on this side here, and to start this week's row, so we start with row 28 this week. I'm going to turn, but I'm only going to join into the back loop. Okay. So in this row we're just working into the back loop. So I'm going to join with a chain 1. Let's take that for a second. And then in that first back loop I'm going to make a single crochet. So we're working in the back loop just to give last week its last ridge. So we made these ridges here, and it's just going to give that ridge to that last row. Okay, so all stitches in the back loop only, and we're going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches as well. 1 and 2. Then in the next 2 stitches we're going to make a half double crochet. There's 1 and 2. And then in the next 2 stitches we'll make a double crochet. 1 and 2. Okay, so we've got our wave rising up. Right, so in the next 3 stitches we're going to make a treble crochet. Okay, so 1, 2 and 3, and this brings us to the top of our wave. There we go, and now we need to come back down again. So in the next 2 stitches we make a double crochet. 1 and then in the next 2 stitches half double crochet, all of them in that back loop, and then after a half double crochet we're going to make a single crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so 3 single crochet, and after that we're going to carry on the patterns we just done. So after your 3 single crochet you make another 2 half double crochet. 1 and 2. And then 2 double crochet. 1 and 2. Oops. And then we get to the top of the wave and we make a treble crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3, and back to the top of the wave again. Okay, so now we go back down. So after our 3 trebles we make 2 double crochet. Then in the next 2 stitches it's 2 half doubles. Sorry, a half double in the next 2 stitches. And then at the bottom of our wave we make a single crochet in the next 3 stitches. Okay, so now we go back up again, and in the next 2 stitches we're going to make a half double crochet. then a double crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then at the top we make a treble in the next 3 stitches. In our last few stitches, so a double crochet in the next 2, half double crochet in the next 2, and that should leave us with 3 stitches left, and we're going to single crochet in those last 3. And then in the final 2 loops of the last single crochet, I'm going to change colour. So we're only going to do 1 row in that first colour, but we're going to come back to it later. Do that, and turn, and chain 1. So for row 29 we're going to be working into both loops. Okay, so for the rest of this week we're working into both loops. Right, so we're going to chain 1, and in that first stitch you're going to make a treble turning chain. And 3. Let's pop the stitch marker in there. Okay, and then we're going to treble crochet in the next 2 stitches. Okay, before I carry on, I'm just going to cut off this so it's not in my way. I'm not carrying my colours for this, but if you are, then keep it attached. Excuse me. Okay, so next 2 stitches are a double crochet. So it's the same pattern as we did for the last row, it's just that we're shifting it over. So on top of the single crochets we've got trebles, and on top of the trebles we'll have our singles. Other than that the pattern's exactly the same. So 3 trebles, then 2 double crochet, then 2 half double crochet, and now we're going to make a single crochet the next 3 stitches. 2, 3, and those 3 single crochet sit on top of the treble crochet in the row below. Okay, and then just carry on the pattern in the exact same way. So then it's 2 half double crochet, and then in the next 2 stitches it's a double crochet. And then 3 treble crochet which sits on top of the 3 single crochet at the row below. And we carry on that pattern for the whole row. So I'm going to carry on with that, and I shall see you when I get to the end of the row. Okay, so we're at the end of the row 29, and now I'm going to turn, and we're going to carry on with the same colour. So we turn and chain 1, and we're going to repeat row 29 again. So you're going to make these exact same stitches. So you start with the treble turning chain. Oops. See if I can do that without missing a bit of yarn. So treble turning chain, 2 and 3. Okay, so we're going to be making a real proper wave here. because it's going to get really pronounced, because we're doing trebles on top of trebles and singles on top of singles. Okay, so after your turning chain, you're going to treble in the next 2 stitches. Okay, so we're getting a really, really tall wave. Then double crochet in the next 2. So it's exactly the same pattern as the last row. So you're going to be getting a really big wave at its widest, and then at its smallest it's just 2 rows of single crochet. So this looks really good when it's finished. 3 and a half doubles, and then of course our 3 singles. 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so I'm going to carry on with that. Okay, so exactly the same stitches as the last row, and I shall see you when I get to the end. Okay, so I'm at my last stitch of the row, and I'm going to make a treble. But in the last 2 loops of the stitch, I'm going to change colour to our 3rd green. Then turn and chain 1. Okay, so for this 2nd green, we're now completely finished with for this section. So even if you're carrying your yarn, you can cut that off now. Okay, so for this row, this is row 31, we're going to be following the same pattern as we did with row 28, except we're working it in both loops. So single crochet in the first stitch, and then single crochet in the next 2 stitches as well. So it's the same pattern as we've been doing the last 2 rows, it's just that we shifted it. So our single crochet have been done now, and then the next 2 stitches is a half double crochet, and then double crochet in the next 2, and then in the next 3 stitches we make our trebles. So our trebles are sitting on top of the single crochet in the last row. But other than that, it's exactly the same pattern. And then row, where are we on row? We're on row 31 now, and row 32 is exactly the same as this row. Okay, so you're repeating row 30 for row 31. So I'm going to carry on with that, and I shall see you at the end of row 32. Okay, so at the end of row 32, and I've got my last single crochet, and in the last 2 loops I'm going to change colour. I'm going to change colour back to the first green. I'll do that, and then I'm going to cut off this 3rd colour because it's now finished with. There we go. And then I'm going to turn and chain 1. Okay, so this row is a repeat of row 29, which is the one that starts with the treble crochets. Okay, so both loops and make the treble turning chain, and then you just repeat row 29. So I'm going to do that, and I shall come back to you at the end of the row. We have 1 more row to go to finish our lawn, so I'll see you in a second. Okay, so end of row 33, and I finished my last treble, and we're going to carry on working with this colour. So final row is row 34. Okay, so you should have a fairly straight top edge there, and we're just going to finish our lawn by just making a row of single crochet. So we turn chain 1, and then just single crochet in every stitch across. So your stitch count should be 45, which is the same number of stitches we started with. Okay, so your stitch count should have remained the same for every row. And just single crochet. So when we get to the end, I'm going to be cutting off and weaving in my ends. And then the only job left to do this week is to make the final 2 daisies. So if you've still got those to make, I'll give you a little reminder of how you make them. And don't worry about attaching them yet, so we're going to do that next week. So row 34 is just single crochet, and here's the reminder of how you make those daisies. And after you made those, that's week 4 complete. We start our daisy with a magic circle, and into that circle we're just going to chain 1. That chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch. So inside our magic circle we're then going to make 6 single crochet. Just get the stitch markers out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Then I'm just going to pull the loop closed, and I'm going to slip stitch into that first single crochet and just slip stitch closed. Okay, so that's our yellow done with, but when you cut off, leave a nice long tail, because we'll be using that to attach it to our lawn. And then just pull nice and closed, and there's our centre. Okay, so I'm going to take away that yellow, and I'm going to bring in this off-white that I'm using for the petals. Now remember that this last loop here is a slip stitch, it's not a stitch, so you're not going to be working into that. We're only going to be working into our 6 single crochet. Okay, so get your hook into any single crochet of the round, and then just pull your new colour through and chain 1. Okay, that chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch. Into the same stitch that you joined into, oops, nope, yarn over, into the stitch you join into, you're going to make a half double crochet. So this is your first stitch. Let's mark that. Okay, so still working into that same stitch, you're also going to make a double crochet and another half double crochet. Oops, just grab some yarn. Okay, so that's your petal. Half double crochet, half double crochet. Into your next single crochet, you're going to slip stitch. Okay, and working into the same stitch as the slip stitch, half double crochet, double crochet, and half double crochet, all in that same stitch. And there's our second petal. And then slip stitch into your next single crochet. So I skipped over that slip stitch to make sure that doesn't get worked into. So we're going to do the same in every petal round. So you slip stitch into your next single crochet, and in that same stitch you make a half double crochet, a double crochet and a half double crochet, and then repeat all the way around. Okay, so I'm just going to finish this daisy.
and we should have 6 petals in total. So 1, 2, 3, and then slip stitch into the next one. This can be a bit tight in places, but it all works out for a nice tight looking flower. Half double crochet, double crochet, and a half double crochet. Slip stitch into the next single crochet, and working in that same stitch, got a half double, double, and another half double, and then into our last single crochet, slip stitch, and then half double, double, and last stitch is the half double. Okay, and then just to finish the round, I'm just going to slip stitch into that first single crochet again. I didn't really need the stitch marker, but it's just a good way of not losing where you are. There we go. So now I can cut that off, and we have our first daisy. So weave in your petal ends and weave in one of your middle ends, and just leave one of those middle tails free so that you can use that to sew this onto your lawn later. So you'll end up a nice lovely flower like that. Okay, so